The most magical of places often get their charm from the last place you'd expect. So too does the Coral Highlands get its majesty and grace from a most unexpected place. One of the harshest environments found in the New World. The Rotten Vale. Lies just below the Coral Highlands and is the unexpected source of all the nutrients fed to the surface. Widely regarded as the Monster Graveyard, this locale is highly treacherous to even the most experienced hunters. Monsters often come here to die, allowing their bodies to be once again offered up to the earth, and in turn, fueling the beauty of the highlands above. However, the process of decomposition is quite a toxic one. As the many bodies begin to pile up, dangerous fumes accumulate, causing monsters who haven't adapted to the environment to either perish or go mad. If you were to live in a place like this, you would most definitely need to adapt to overcome the specific challenges such a lifestyle entails. Today, on Makings of a Monster, we're going to look at one of the top survivors down here, Odogaron. Belonging to the Fanged Wyvern class, he is a quadruped beast with an adult size of roughly 13 to 15 meters. Odogaron embodies the Vale and is arguably the best depiction of what life down in nature's dump is truly like. His body, resembling that of a rotting animal, is quite fitting for a creature who lives in the Vale. In fact, just by looking at Odogaron, you can easily get a sense of how dangerous he truly is. Widely considered the apex of the Vale, its carnivorous lifestyle has evolved into that of both hunter and scavenger. To the Odogaron, meat is meat, whether that be fresh gyros, or a decomposing corpse lying on the insect-infested floor. His digestive system has been specialized to carry many different forms of bacteria, much like our own. However, unlike our stomachs, the bacteria in the Odogaron are exceptional at breaking up rotten meat and dealing with the toxins that build up within, much like that of vultures. Wandering the Vale as a scavenger, you might expect him to be slow and simply wait for a meal to fall into his hands. And well, he would never pass up the opportunity. This couldn't be farther from the truth. The Odogaron's unique metabolism has given him the ability to perform remarkable feats of speed and agility. He is the fastest creature found naturally within the Vale, and uses this speed to his advantage against the other creatures. He is fearless with confrontations, often engaging with much larger locals such as Radabon, and easily dominating over them. Quickly jumping around their much slower, lumbering bodies and making quick work of them. One explanation for the evolution of such a skill can be hinted at by another strange trait of his. The heightened metabolism of the creature has a unique property found in almost no other animal in the world. Immediately after a meal, the creature's body temperature skyrockets. His skin will begin to glow red and steam will emit from his mouth. While in this state, his speed and reaction time increases dramatically, and he immediately enters a feeding frenzy-like state of hyper-aggression. Most creatures living in his situation would probably opt to digest their meals slowly, making the most out of each meal. But this appears to be the exact opposite in Odogaron's case. His lack of conservation means that once he enters this state, he looks to quickly end the fight, as if he fights too long, he may burn through the literal energy stores he has left, and will die. While it is still a mystery exactly why he would choose to expend so much energy immediately after a meal, we can make an educated guess. The leading hypothesis for Odogaron's choice not to conserve the energy he gains is that, simply put, it might not be a choice at all. While he certainly resides in the Vale, there is evidence to suggest that he is a descendant of an ancient species who lived in a less harsh environment. This species would have been a beast capable of producing flames, either to hunt or protect themselves. The production of flames uses an incredible amount of energy, meaning that once their metabolism gains access to the food, it might be designed to convert that food into heat. At some point in history, however, this specific trait became less and less useful as Odogaron adapted to life in the Vale. Down here, fire would benefit no one, as the decomposition of corpses surrounding them gave off large amounts of methane, an incredibly flammable gas that could easily damage the beast, along with destroying any nearby meals. It is reasonable to believe that this change in habitat occurred somewhat recently on a biological scale, meaning there hasn't been enough time to fully evolve out the ability to generate heat. In place of this potential downside, the Odogaron uses the insane energy he produces to immediately begin a new hunt, using the speed and strength steroid to chase down his next meal, continuing his cycle. Another unique trait for a creature as fast and dexterous as his is his eyes. Typically, a creature who relies on speed to hunt will also have specially designed eyes. You can see our episode on Topikidachi as an example. However, the Odogaron has quite poor eyes. They are quite small and lack eyelids, so it is unlikely that they use sight to find prey. Instead, their sight is most likely useful only when up close, allowing them to see just enough to properly use their speed in close quarters combat, but nothing more. In place of eyesight, he has developed a monstrous sense of smell. While the Vale may seem like a strong sense of smell might be a detriment, due to the overpowering stench of death, if used correctly, it can be that very stench that allows a creature to attract almost anything. He is always smelling his surroundings, constantly flaring his nostrils to take in all the smells of the area, to see if he finds anything he might like. If the Odogaron loses sight of its prey, it can even rely on their trail of blood to track them down. And there will be blood. The Odogaron has a frightening jaw, with large hooked canines which surprisingly, instead of simply combat, were most likely evolved to hook into decaying meat, allowing him to carry it back to his den without the meat falling apart. Instead, he has developed two different weapons which are much more dangerous than its teeth alone. The first and most impressive adaptation would be its claws, which hide a secret. While the first 4 claws seem worrying enough, these are simply for walking. He actually hides a second set of 6 true claws per foot, able to extend and retract these claws at will. These claws are similar to the false pair, however, by keeping them hidden away, he guarantees they won't dull by simply walking or climbing. All 10 claws are serrated and contain jagged rows of spikes capable of leaving deep and complicated lacerations in the prey, which can practically guarantee that the animal will bleed out. This means that once Odogaron attacks a victim, it doesn't necessarily need to continue fighting. Instead, he can simply wait for his prey to bleed out and die, following the scent of their blood. The second weapon he bolsters is his tail. His tail is made up of many white protrusions which are in fact not bone, but instead incredibly hardened skin cells he has developed throughout his life. This means that younger Odogaron actually lack these spines. Since these are made of skin and not bone, he is able to use it as a club and not worry too much about damage, as any parts that break off can be much more easily regrown than if they were bone. Although at a glance Odogaron appears to lack skin, this is in fact untrue. Its skin has keratinized. This is a process that changes the composition of skin cells. In fact, it's the exact same process in which you grow your hair. Just as your hair is keratinized skin, so too is the Odogaron's outer layer. This gives it a much more durable exterior and may also help protect it from the many diseases that lay across the Vale. While he may seem like he would always be on the prowl for more food, Odogaron often don't immediately eat their meals. Instead, opting to use his large tunnel system dug through the Vale to return to its burrow, where it stores its meat in case there is ever a shortage. The beauty of having digestive systems so well equipped for eating decaying meat is that he is able to store the food he gets for potentially months without worrying about it spoiling, since to him, the best before date might as well be a minor inconvenience. This style of hoarding is also useful as there is incredible competition in the Vale for meat. Due to the nature of the region, very little plant life can be found, meaning most animals here are carnivorous, and would jump at the opportunity to steal any meals the Odogaron has claimed his own. While the inhabitants of the Rotten Vale seem to be in stark opposition to their counterparts high in the Coral Highlands, Odogaron is a shining example as to how, no matter the circumstances, life will find a way to adapt and thrive in any situation. Thank you for watching this episode of Makings of a Monster, and a big thank you to DJ TGAM55 for suggesting Odogaron. If you would like to see more of this world, and maybe how truly important the Rotten Vale is, check out our episode on the apex of the Coral Highlands, La Guyana. As always, be sure to like and subscribe to keep up on releases, and be sure to leave a comment suggesting what monsters you'd like to see next.